Assalamu alaikum dear grade 10 students, hope this video finds you well. Our course for today is related to the hormonal communication. Actually, our body ensures coordination between its different parts through two main communication systems, the nervous communication and the hormonal communication. While the nervous communication is rapid, specific, and relying on electrical signals between neurons, it's not always sufficient for the long-term regulation. Hormonal communication, on contrast, is slower but more sustained, involving chemical substances that are called hormones to be secreted directly into the bloodstream and act on distant target cells. Have you ever felt hungry, scared, or sleepy without a clear reason? Actually, these changes are controlled by hormones. Today, we will be exploring the hormonal communication. First of all, we have to be exploring the types of glands that are present in our body. The first type of glands in our bodies is called the exocrine glands. These glands secrete a substance called juice. So the gland is secreting a substance, releasing a substance. This substance is called juice. How is it secreted? To be collected in a duct. Yani first of all, the secreted substance will be collected in a duct, then it will be reaching a specific location in the body like the skin or inside an organ. Yani as we can see in this figure here, these cells are called exocrine cells. ليش؟ لأنه they are secreting juice and this juice is collected through this duct. So this is an example of an exocrine gland. Here we have the exocrine cells اللي هن part of the exocrine gland secreting a substance called juice. First of all, it has to be collected through the duct, then to be ejected to outside the duct or outside the body. If you are taking example as the salivary gland, which is the responsible for the secretion of the saliva in the mouth, the substance first of all will be collected in the duct, then it will be released in the mouth. Yani the saliva is released in the mouth. If we are taking example the sweat gland, for example, so the sweat gland will be producing the juice, and this juice will be secreted and released to the surface of the body, and to the outside of the body, that we feel the sweat on our skin. So two examples of the exocrine gland are sweat and salivary gland. The second part of glands in our bodies is called the endocrine gland. Endocrine glands, these glands release a substance. This substance this time is called hormones, and these hormones are directly released into the bloodstream without using a duct or leash for acting on distant target organs. Yani they are acting on organs that are far away from the initial gland that is secreting the hormone. So, very important to differentiate between exocrine and endocrine gland. That's why we will be having a comparative table between them. First of all, let's explore what do we mean by an endocrine gland. So these are the endocrine cells. As you can see, they are not separated by a duct. There is no duct in the inside. There is no collection of the juice in the inside. On the contrary, هالمرة, these cells are directly connected to the blood vessel. Yani here we can see the blood vessel surrounding the endocrine cells. Why? Because these cells will be producing the certain substance which is called hormone, and releasing it directly to the bloodstream in order to reach the target organ. Yani we can see here we are having a secreting cell, yani an endocrine cell, producing a hormone. The hormone directly moves through the bloodstream, and in order to reach the target cell, يعني العضو that are meant to be working on it. So هيدي التارجت cell, once هودي الهرمونز reach the target cell, they are occupying a specific receptors on the surface of the target cell. So hormones are released by the endocrine cells directly into the bloodstream to reach a specific organ which is called the target organ that they act on. These hormones, once they reach this target organ, they occupy specific receptors on the surface of these organs, forming a hormone receptor complex. يعني this is the target cell. This is the receptor on the target cell. This is the hormone. The hormone with the receptor, this is called a hormone receptor complex. يعني the bond between the hormone and the receptor, this is called a hormone receptor complex. Actually, there are many examples of endocrine glands in our body. This figure corresponds to these glands. Mainly, we will be discussing the thyroid and the adrenal glands. Now we're having a comparative table between the endocrine and the exocrine gland according to different features. The first feature is the duct. We know that the endocrine gland has no duct, yani it's referred as ductless, while the exocrine glands, they have ducts. Referring to the secreted substance, the endocrine gland produce hormones, the exocrine gland produce juice. This juice may be enzyme, maybe sweat, maybe mucus substance, etc. Where it goes, يعني the target عوين بتروح endocrine gland directly is secreted into the bloodstream, بينما exocrine gland, first of all, they are collected through a duct, then they go to a specific location. The distance of action, يعني the range that they act on, endocrine gland, they can act on distant target organ. Why? لأنه these hormones are produced and released into the blood. So where can the blood reach? They could be available, so they can reach all the body organs, while the exocrine gland, they are only local and they act nearby. Regarding to the speed and duration, endocrine gland, they are slow but long lasting, while the exocrine glands are fast and short term. So till this point we discussed two types of glands. First of all, the endocrine gland, second the exocrine gland, and we made a comparison in a comparative table between them. Actually, there is a third type of glands which is called the mixed gland. As its name implies, it must be having the two functions, يعني endocrine and exocrine functions. As we can see here, these glands have both endocrine and exocrine functions. They release substances through the ducts اللي قلنا they are called juice, and as well as they will be releasing other substances directly to the blood, which we call the hormones. يعني they are producing both juices to be collected in the duct, then ejected to a specific location, and hormones to be released directly into the bloodstream. Example of a mixed gland, we have the pancreas. We will be discussing it in details. So let's explore the pancreas. First of all, this is the pancreas, and this is the pancreatic duct, يعني the duct that takes the juice from the pancreas to other organs. This is the exocrine tissue, and this is the endocrine tissue. يعني هيدا البارت هو endocrine part, هيدا البارت is the exocrine part. The pancreas has two functions. As we said, it's a mixed gland. يعني it has an exocrine function and endocrine function. Exocrine functions secrete the digestive enzymes and the bicarbonate. Bicarbonate has a function related to the acidity in the stomach. It's not of our interest, but يعني it has two functions. بينما endocrine gland اللي هن اسمهم islets of Langerhans. So this is a whole representation of the pancreas. This is the part which is the endocrine part, and this is the exocrine part. The endocrine part is called islets of Langerhans. These islets of Langerhans, which is the endocrine part of the pancreas, has many types of cells. We are interested only in two types of these cells: the alpha cells that will be releasing glucagon hormone, and the beta cells that will be releasing insulin hormone. So this is the endocrine part of the pancreas, having many types of cells. What we care about is the alpha cells and the beta cells. The alpha cells producing glucagon and beta cells producing insulin, while the exocrine part of the pancreas will be producing digestive enzymes and bicarbonate. So the pancreas has dual function. The exocrine part secretes the digestive enzymes. They will be sent into the small intestine. They are called acinar cells. So the exocrine part of the pancreas is called acinar cells. They pass through the pancreatic duct. هيدي اللي حكينا عنه. بينما الendocrine, they are secreting hormones to be sent directly to the blood vessel. What is the function of these hormones? خلينا نركز. إذن the pancreas, a mixed gland having exocrine and endocrine part. The exocrine part has functions related to the digestion. The endocrine part شو الفانكشن تعيله؟ It has a function related to the blood glucose regulation. They regulate the amount of glucose in the blood, يعني the glycemia. What do we call them? We call them islets of Langerhans. What are the cell types and what are the hormones? في عنا first of all alpha cells, they produce glucagon hormone. شو بيعمل هذا الجلوكاجون هرمون؟ It raises blood glucose and secreted in case of hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. يعني if you are fasting for example أو if you had a long time مثلا without eating, ساعتها your blood sugar will go low. Once your blood sugar will go low, يعني it's a state of hypoglycemia. In case of hypoglycemia, the pancreas gives an order to the alpha cells in order to be secreting glucagon hormone. This hormone increases blood sugar. بينما البeta cells they are producing insulin that lowers the blood glucose, which is used in case of hyperglycemia يعني high blood sugar. يعني once you eat a meal, after finishing the meal the blood sugar becomes high لأنه هلأ you took a high level of sugar, so the blood sugar is high يعني it's a case of hyperglycemia. ساعتها the pancreas gives an order for the beta cells to be secreting insulin that lower blood glucose in the يعني blood glucose in يعني the glucose in the blood, which is the case of hyperglycemia. There are other cells in the islets of Langerhans, the delta cells, the PP cells, but we are interested only in alpha cells and beta cells. These two cells are endocrine cells لأنه they are producing hormones، بينما the exocrine cells هن الأسنر cells that are producing digestive juices to be sent through the pancreatic duct to reach the small intestine. Okay, so this is an example of the mixed gland. So let's make an application on this information. So first of all, numerous experiments have been conducted to elucidate the role and mode of action of the pancreas. So the objective of this experiment is to know the role and the mode of action of the pancreas. The table below shows the experimental conditions and the results obtained. Let's discuss the table. So first of all, we have 4 lots of dogs, and this part of the table shows the experimental condition, and this one corresponds to the result. First of all, a normal dog with an intact pancreas يعني untouched pancreas, there is no problem، كان في عنده normal blood sugar. Okay. When there is removal of the pancreas يعني the pancreas is ablated, removed، صار في عنا increased blood sugar أو the case of hyperglycemia. نحن اتفقنا إنه the case of high blood sugar is called hyperglycemia, the case of low blood sugar is called hypoglycemia. So هون after the removal of the pancreas there is an increased glucose in the glucose level. The second one, removal of the pancreas followed by grafting it under the skin. يعني هو البنكرياس it's located in the abdomen، بس أنا I'm removing this pancreas and placing it under the skin يعني in a different location. Glycemia returns to its normal value. يعني pancreas is able to perform its function even though if it's placed in a different location. Okay, in the 4th experiment, after the removal of the pancreas followed by the injection of the pancreatic extract يعني the substances that the pancreas produces عصارة البنكرياس, as well as glycemia returns to its normal value. يعني the pancreas is able to act if it's placed in a different location أو if its extract is directly injected into the blood. So it means يعني we have to be relating the relations to know that a part of the pancreas is an endocrine, it has an endocrine part. ليش؟ لأنه it's connecting in the absence of a duct يعني in any place in the body، وكمان it's making a direct connection with the blood. First of all, pose the problem studied. أول شيء the problem has to be written as a question and ended by a question mark. So the problem شو هو? What is the role and the mode of action of the pancreas? So what is the role and the mode? Just a second. Minimize it. Okay. Role and mode of action of the pancreas, ending by a question mark. 2. Analyze the results of experiments 1 and 2. بدنا نعمل analysis لل 1 and 2. بال1 كان في عندي normal blood sugar after يعني in the case of normal dog with intact pancreas، بالتالي كان عندي increased blood sugar. So normal blood sugar was noticed in the normal dog with intact pancreas. بما أنه results هن different from each other, so we have to be writing while increased blood sugar was obtained after its removal. After يعني the pancreas was removed. عملنا analysis للexperiments 1 and 2. So this is 2.1. Great. 2.2. Draw out the role of the pancreas. So depending on this experiment, what can you say about the role of the pancreas? The pancreas is responsible for regulating and maintaining the glucose levels يعني at the normal values يعني لأنه هو it's regulating the blood glucose ولما ال blood glucose increased with respect to the normal level, it decreases it again to become at its normal level. So the pancreas, you have to be writing conclusions and the action verb is draw out. The pancreas is responsible of regulation of the blood glucose. أكيد at its normal value. Great. 2. Interpret the results obtained in 3 and 4. interpret الأكشن verb interpret هي first of all analysis followed by significance. In the both cases they have similar result يعني in both cases glycemia returns to its normal value. So the result is glycemia returns to its normal value in experiments 3 and 4 after the removal of the pancreas, which is a common condition. بالحالتين كان في عندي removal of the pancreas followed by بأول واحد عملنا its grafting under the skin وبتاني واحد and injections of pancreatic extract respectively لأنه experiments 3 and 4 so respectively يعني the first condition written corresponds to experiment 3 the second one corresponds to experiment 4 so this means that لأنه الأكشن verb it was interpret يعني we have to be writing analysis بعدين this means that significant so this means that or this showed that or this indicates that so this means that the experiment 3 I have to be identifying that the pancreas is acting from any place in the body يعني it's making a direct connection with the blood. من experiment 4 I have to be deducing that it's acting by hormones لأنه أنا شلته وحطيت البنكرياتيك extract قام اشتغل عادي. So experiment 3 and 4 بيخبروني إنه هو it's acting by hormones and sending them to the blood. يعني this means that the pancreas acts by sending hormones and these hormones are sent directly to the bloodstream عم يبعثون دغري على ال bloodstream. Okay, that's all for today. We will be having only a homework. So this is an exercise to be solved as an application on the given information. Hope you found this useful and helpful. See you the next session and keep learning.